So you may have heard recently, there are some big region merges coming to Throne of Liberty in the second week of March. The devs have finally posted a blog post which covers the majority of the details, and it has basically forced their hand to finally increase the amount of character slots we can have. Additionally, if you haven't noticed already, they have added something rather concerning with regards to purchasing Lucent. We may be entering a phase where the value of the current Lucent you have will become significantly less, with the ability that players can now purchase double the amount. Right now there is a limit with that. You should only be able to purchase this twice, but who's to say they won't increase that limit? So let's talk through these things in a bit more detail. Jumping back to that blog post, we can see they announce the region consolidation. There will no longer be 3 separate American regions. They will all be combined into one called Americas, with a local server time at the US Central Time. Yes, that will screw over some of you, particularly who have tight work schedules, and then it may not align properly with the daily activities, especially arch bosses, and perhaps even siege if you work on the weekends. And well, they don't say they're going to do anything about it. It's just what you're going to have to live with. However, you may be wondering about your additional characters. Some of you have taken advantage of the fact there are different regions and the fact you can create 2 characters on every single region. So all those characters will now be merged into one American region, which means they've been forced to increase the character cap per region to 6. To keep things fair, this now also applies to Europe. I will be able to have 6 characters in Europe. I'll be able to have 6 in Oceania, and then 6 in America. So you'll be able to have a total of 18 characters now across the regions. That's instead of just 2 per region, which meant a total of 10 characters. Of course, if you do want to play on these other regions, you do have to accept the fact you're not exactly going to have the best connection speeds. And that's a concern for those of you who are getting merged in the American servers. You won't have a choice from this, particularly if you play down in South America. Now the main server is most likely going to be up still in the US, meaning you're going to have a lot more ping. And many competitive players may even quit as a result, especially due to the fact attack speed is directly linked to your server connection. You do not want to be playing a class like Crucifix, which requires high attack speed, if you have bad connection. You just won't be outputting as many attacks per second, and thus be just losing damage. In addition to these region consolidations, they will also be merging the auction house across those regions. This will also affect Europe, because they will be removing the PlayStation exclusive servers in those regions, Europe and Asian Pacific. On the American region, the 3 different PlayStation exclusive servers gets merged into just one. However, if you are in other parts of the world and you find this kind of sucks, that you will no longer have a PlayStation exclusive server in your region, they will be providing you with a free server transfer ticket, a region transfer ticket, so you could transfer from a European or APAC PlayStation server to the American PlayStation server if you desired. Again, you'll have to suffer with the worse connection speed. But this will be interesting to see where the prices end up, particularly for America, consolidating all those regions, and then us getting a bunch of loot on our global auction from the PlayStation servers. But supposedly there's not a lot of players there, particularly because matchmaking got so bad. So many of you already moved or just never created a character there. In terms of content within the game, we're getting the usual things. The owners of the castle will reset, and that'll go back to whichever guild has the most activity will claim the throne after a certain period, and then it will enter the new cycle. There will probably be a lot more competition because of these region merges, and there will be additional server merges on top of this that we'll get info about later. Your guild reputation will reset, most of the rankings will reset in terms of kills, score, ownerships of boonstones, rift stones. auction house favorited items will reset. The total Lucent and Solent taxes from old servers will get merged as well into the new servers, and growth rankings will be recalculated. And that's ultimately everything we know so far in terms of the region merges. Again, there will be more info on the specific server that you're getting merged into. Again, they'll probably do the same thing, creating new servers, and everybody gets sorted and put into them. Like I started the game in a server called Wraith. That got merged into a new server called Cascade with some other servers. And again, they'll probably be deleting all the current existing servers and putting us into brand new ones, condensing the player base so we have more active servers. But we'll have to wait for the exact list later. So jumping to the shop and having a look at those new Lucent packs. There was a bug when these initially released where you could only see them, they would only become available if you didn't have a Lucent when you were trying to buy something or didn't have enough Lucent, but they seem to have finally made them available for everybody to access, regardless how much Lucent you already have. This allows you to pay the usual price for a bundle, but actually get double the amount of Lucent. You can see these normal packs down here. You'd pay €99 in my region and you'd get 6,000 Lucent. Now you can pay that same amount and get 12,000. But again, there is supposedly a stock limit of just 2. I don't know when that will refresh though. And you do have the ability of buying all these packs. There doesn't even look like there's an expiry date on these, so they may just remain forever for anybody so long as you haven't purchased them all out. What this ultimately means is any paying player now gets twice as much Lucent, which will very likely mean a lot of the more valuable items on the auction will go up in price because more people will have Lucent. Basically twice as much will get introduced into the economy via this, and with the supply not increasing, that just means prices are going to go up because people can afford higher prices due to having more available Lucent. This is ultimately a bad thing right now if you were hoarding Lucent. Like, the value of my Lucent is half as much as it was. It's now only worth like 8,000 Lucent. It might take some time before we see prices really rise, and it does depend how often they're going to refresh the stock. Like, if people can only buy this the one time, 2 of each pack, then it will just be a temporary thing, because eventually the Lucent will bleed out of the economy and people will be left to having to purchase these other packs. And here's the thing, Lucent does not get introduced into the game in any other way than people buying it. Even if you're obtaining Lucent off the auction house by selling something, that Lucent came from another player who bought it with real world money. There would be 0 Lucent in the game if nobody bought any. All that Lucent that you're getting through inter-server events, through the castle siege, all comes from just the auction house tax. That gets accumulated here and then distributed as rewards. And not all of that tax goes here. A certain amount just goes poof out of the economy. And also, whenever you buy any cosmetics from the shop or any of these items, that Lucent's also gone out of the economy. So unless they plan to add a lot more enticing new items to the shop, then this extra Lucent is going to be introduced into the economy, and it's going to impact the auction house. All the Lucent you have right now, even if you got it as a free-to-play player, it's basically only worth half as much. But again, it may just be a temporary thing depending on if they're going to restock these packs or not. This right now, to me, just seems like a test kind of thing. There hasn't been any big update. There's not a whole lot of players active right now, since there's pretty much nothing to do new. So it's only really the most dedicated players that are really going to buy these packs, or some new players who want to catch up quick. So it may not have as big an impact as we might think. But yeah, it is nonetheless concerning with regards to the state of the game that they're doing this. It may just become the norm, but it does also kind of result in all the shop items becoming significantly cheaper. Like now, a battle pass for 500 Lucent, you can get that for the value of like $5 instead of 10. But with that said, We'll just have to wait and see what happens. The majority of endgame players are just bored, myself included. There's nothing really to do in this game if I've maxed out my character. Why would I continue doing trials, dungeons, battlegrounds, sieges, etc.? The only reason would be to farm Lucent, maybe some gear traits that might be useful for tier 4. It's very likely they may make them kind of useless because we've had so long to save up all these items. We saw that with tier 3. A lot of stuff we hoarded became just kind of useless in tier 3. I expect them to do very much the same in tier 4. And we're probably not getting tier 4 until summer. So with that said, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys around.